Mancavo dall'Italia fino dal 1934, l'anno in cui hanno chiuso tutte le scuole col mio metodo. Rimasi in Europa fino al 1939, poi dopo sono andata in India e lì sono rimasta per 7 anni, dei quali per 5 anni fui internata come nemico italiano. Io non potevo andare nei vari luoghi, ma venivano da tutte le parti gli indiani a me. E in questo modo ho potuto preparare circa 1500 maestri.
Quanto tempo rimarrà in Italia?
Io sono qui ospite del governo italiano per 2 mesi. Credo che sia per rimettere il mio metodo nelle scuole e anche per applicare alla nuova educazione i miei principi.
Montessori, she was born in Ancona in 1870 and became medical doctor. Her first job was working with children that had some difficulties, were handicapped in different ways. She thought that these children were not well kept and that no one actually really cared about their future. So this was her first interest in deficient children. She succeeded very, very well with these children and decided that something is wrong with our traditional school system, that they don't do much better than the children that had all these kinds of difficulty. So she wanted the children to learn how to behave and how to become independent. What she did actually was watching the children, what interest they had and what they actually wanted to do. She said children want to play, but she called the play work. They want to work for their own independence. So when she organized the environment for these young children, it was organized like a home for children where they could take care of the environment and do everything that they love to do, because children do like to do the same things that adults do. So for instance, when the father is washing the dishes or the mother is preparing for dinner, the children want to do this as well. And she said, why shouldn't they? But we have to do it in their size. And from the very practical work that she thought the children were interested in learning how to do them, she also said we have to teach them how to do this practical work. It's nothing that you just learn by just watching. So in order to get all the movements, she told the teachers to do it very slowly and showing the children how to manage without talking while they're practicing or doing the work. Compared to Descartes, French philosopher, who said, I'm thinking, therefore I am, she would have said, I'm doing things, therefore I am. So for her, this being able to move and work with your body makes also your brain develop. If we look at the didactics and this pedagogical idea, we could talk about how children learn. And Montessori was convinced that children learn by analyzing things that are invariant or are changing. Like if you want to learn what green is, you have to have something to compare green with. So green compared to red, then you can grasp what green is. And everything that children do when they're small is, for instance, if they have to learn about geometry and different geometrical forms, the things that vary are the forms and not the color. So if you want to learn how to distinguish a triangle from a square, from a circle, all three are red. It's only the form that differs. And this is quite different from what we think when children, they should have everything in color and there should be a lot of variation. But we don't learn in that way, she says. We learn when we see, when we can concentrate on what differs. So a lot of material is sensorial. For instance, there are cylinders in different shapes and different lengths and different width, and they can learn how this is longer, this is shorter, this is thicker, this is thinner, and put language into while they're working. Montessori said we learn how to write and then we learn how to read. And the writing is something that we do with our own thoughts and our own ideas. And starting to write we do with sandpaper letters, so the children can feel the form of the letter and do the form that are cut out in sandpaper. If we visit the school age, the children that are going from the first grade until let's say the sixth grade, we will see they differ as well, because Montessori had the idea that children, they don't develop like this, like an ordinary, a scale up from 1 to older children. So she was more looking at how children are in different age groups, and they differ so much. And from the year 6 until the year 12, of course, the school looks different. And older they get, more they leave the material. So maybe in the 6th grade, they work very much from books and from computers and do their own work, doing research, going out, looking at the environment, at nature, and so.
This is our school, and we are very proud of this building. 150 years ago, there was a rich local businessman who wanted to leave something good behind, and in his inheritance he donated money for this building. When the Montessori pupils enter the school in the morning, at first they meet this blackboard where they can find what is planned for the day. Of course, they can find the schedule on internet, but every day there is 1 or 2 or 3 exceptions. And this is how we communicate in the beginning of the day. What is going to happen?
Nu ska vi se. Paloma. Får. Paloma, vad är det? Fågel. Duva. Duva, ja. Jag bara får. Backa. Ko. Någon som har hört den? Ja! Kunde du? Okej. Backa. Julia, du är en backa. Det är så roligt att vara fågel på.
Yeah, we built houses of like these sticks, like old ice cream sticks, and these was how they came out. It's pretty good.
A lot of time during the day, the pupils have their individual work. Of course, they meet every teacher during the week, and we tell them how they can do things, but then of course learning is doing oneself. In this room, the pupils have their lunch. They eat all at the same time because they're very good at respecting each other, and they keep the noise down, and we can talk together even though they're not in the same age, no problem. They mix, so it's a nice moment during the day. The food is made in our own kitchen by our master chef, and it's all produced in the neighborhood nearby. It's ecological, and so the milk comes from nearby, the eggs come from nearby, and so is also the meat. The pupils make their own music, their own songs. They do that with the instruments, but of course also in the iPads, where they can use, for example, the app GarageBand and compose their own music. They also find their own expression, find their own name as an artist. How am I going to sound, and how am I going to look like? As we can see here, the children are getting a diploma. Yesterday they went to the fire department and had a full day experience. And we think it's very important to be a part of society. It's important to not let the school, the education, stay in this building because life is happening outside.
Montessori says this is a very difficult age group. It's difficult to become a teenager because there's so much going on in their brains with hormones that are occupying the space of the intellect. And they have to be, the school has to be very different from what we consider the traditional school. So she had this idea that the children should be on a farm and actually work very close to what they do in preschool, but in real life. So there are farm schools or Erdkinder, she called it Erdkinder, the children that are working with the earth and with the soil. And the earth as well. So it's also about the global feeling about being one person on our globe, but also working actually in the soil. And being on a farm is very, very important for this because they're growing a lot and they need to do real work with their bodies. And it doesn't mean that they don't do intellectual work, but they can connect the work they did on the farm with chemistry or with biology. And so in that way they learn where it's meaningful what they learn. They feel that what they do has an impact on further work they will do later.